Nigerian startup wins top prize in fintech and blockchain at GITEX Africa. Federal government in talks with labor unions to avert strike over fuel subsidy removal. Nigeria orders maintain oil output as OPEC Plus meets. Plus, Nigeria tops list of countries with unrepatriated funds from ticket sales, peaking at $818.2 million. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us at this time. It is that time we talk business. I will start by telling you that a meeting between a delegation of the federal government and the leadership of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, has ended with agreement to reconvene on Tuesday, 6th of June. The meeting at the State House, Abuja, was attended by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, and CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, former Governor of Edo State, Adams Oshomole, among other government representatives. After about 2.5-hour meeting behind closed doors, the participants emerged with assurance of some headways.
We are very happy to announce to Nigerians that this engagement has been very productive. The TUC that attended today's meeting presented a list of demands, and those demands we have studied and we are going to present to Mr. President.
Topmost in our demand was clearly stated as well that for utmost good faith and in the interest of social dialogue, that they should revert back the pump price while discussion continues.
State House correspondent Musbao Danwahab reports that this is the second time the government is meeting with the labor union for the same purpose in 5 days. Nigerian Labour Congress NLC was, however, not represented at the meeting. The NLC had directed its members to convene or commence strike on Wednesday, 7th of June, if the NNPC Limited refuses to reverse the recent increment in the petrol pump price. Now, as negotiations continue, Business Express this Monday is looking at the economics of the petroleum subsidy as it affects the nation, then you and I as individuals. Professor Uche Owaleke of Nasarawa State University joins me on the program right away. Prof, it's good to have you on Business Express and at this particular time to talk about such burning issues.
Thank you so much, Benny. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Prof. It's been over 4 decades since Nigeria began paying subsidies for petroleum products. Did the set achievement, the set target, will you say, has been achieved over this period of time? And what possibly were and still are the economic implications of subsidies and also their removal?
Yeah, thank you, Benny. This is one challenge that you can rightly describe as intractable. It's been on for years. I was looking at the development in this fuel subsidy space since 1973. You would see that in 1973, the then regime of General Gowon increased fuel price from 6 kobo to, I think, about 8 kobo. So since then, virtually every regime has increased fuel price, except that of the late President Yaradua, may God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Every other president or head of state, had cause at one time or the other to increase, fuel price. And the situation is made worse now because Nigeria is importing petroleum products. We are importing fuel. Okay, you know that as the largest oil producing country in Africa, we have no reason to be importing refined petroleum products. But unfortunately, we are doing so, and that is why this issue of fuel subsidy has become a real problem, and which in my view needs also to be dealt with, I think once and for all. So what's my take around it? I think that the fuel subsidy regime, of course, should go, and I think majority of the Nigerians agree that the way forward
are you sure, Professor, that majority agree? If majority agree, is it the how that should be done?
Oh yes, I think you are now making the point. We all agree that
some will tell you it is not the right time. Some will tell you because of the challenges of inflation being witnessed around the world, this is the time that countries are actually giving subsidies to their citizens. Should this be the time? For us in Nigeria, like you said, some agree this is the time for it to go. Some say it's not yet time. This is the time government should subsidize. So where are we, in your opinion?
Okay, the reality is that you can't continue to do the same thing, same way, and you expect a different outcome. In this country today, we are experiencing so much fiscal pressure. Government expenditure is rising faster than revenue. The debt burden is becoming unbearable. So when you look at the fiscal state of the government, the fact that public debt is rising, partly on account of this fuel subsidy, the fact that the opportunity cost of fuel subsidy is even very high. By that I mean the money we vote every year for fuel subsidy that run into trillions of naira, could have been put in other productive areas. That's what I mean by opportunity cost. In 2023 alone, just for the first 6 months, we voted 3.36 trillion. And if you are going to run subsidy up to the end of the year, you're going to have something in the region of 7 trillion. So that's humongous. You can imagine what 7 trillion can do in areas of health, education, and the rest of them. So the opportunity cost is high, no doubt. And then there's also the issue of even the smuggling. I'm sure you read recently the reports about neighboring countries, complaining that the removal of this fuel subsidy is also affecting, affecting them.
Affecting the cost.
Yes, exactly. So this is something that has been encouraged smuggling, encouraged the black market, and
sorry to hold your thought at this moment. That brings me to this question. A lot of people have said the common man have not really enjoyed the subsidy as it should, that it is to the advantage of a few, therefore it should go. Based on that, a lot of people, or some people, are of the view that why can't government approve this subsidy regime that has gone on so much and has taken so much from the national purse without the common man enjoying the benefits intended from the beginning?
Yeah, Benny, you're right there. You see, that's why the subsidy regime is generally described as being regressive. Regressive means that is, if you look at what studies have shown, is one thing that benefits the rich even more than the poor. Okay, you find that I think according to one World Bank report, 20% of the rich in low and middle income countries use 6 times as more fuel as the 20% of the low income households. So essentially, it's actually the rich that will benefit from this fuel subsidy. So it is regressive, no doubt. Okay, so I agree with you. You see, when I said majority are in support of removing fuel subsidy, okay, that also doesn't mean that majority are in support of the way it has been done, the sudden removal of fuel subsidy. When you take it off in one fell swoop, as has been done, that is where the problem is, and that is where I differ. I agree it should go, but I don't agree with the methodology that is being adopted. Okay, I've always argued for a phased, removal of subsidy. Just the other day, we read that I think 4 days after the announcement that fuel subsidy was, no more in Nigeria, Angola also cut, the fuel subsidy. Angola increased their fuel price by about 87%. But if you look at our own case, moving from 195 to 533 in at least the filling station near my area, 533, that's close to 200%, over 180%, close to 180%. So that's, for me, that's monumental, and that is what is causing this serious distortion in the economy. So I think the first thing the government should do, okay, should be to, first of all, understand what the problem is, okay, audit the system. We have so many problems in that sector now. As we speak, nobody can tell you the exact number of quantity of fuel that is consumed. We don't know the consumption level. We don't also know what is being imported. Okay, so there are a lot of issues around that sector now that the government needs to sit down, get people to really audit the sector and bring out these statistics. It's on the basis of these statistics that whatever measure you are now bringing, in my view, would make sense. Which is also why I've said that what the government needs to do now is to bring out a stopgap measure, okay, to ensure that the effect of the removal, doesn't really cause so much distortion in the economy.
Well, I think that is already been experienced. Costs of food items is.
Oh yes, that's the point I'm making.
Cost of transportation.
Oh yes. So what is that stopgap measure?
So I'm recommending. What is the cost of this removal at this time?
Of course, you should expect that inflation rate will skyrocket. Poverty level is likely to rise further, and even in the short to medium term, we are also likely to experience drop in output growth. Output growth in the sense that consumers are likely to readjust to their spending, and when that happens, once you have weak demand can also result in low output and then low GDP growth rate. So it's going to cause serious spike in inflation rates, spike in poverty rate, even including unemployment. Okay, and in my view, which is why I said that the government shouldn't just jack it off like that. There should be a program, a plan to phase it out gradually, such that the impact on the economy is not the devastating effect will not be so much all at once. Okay, and when the advantage in phasing it out, it allows you time to now fix the challenges that you have in that sector. By the way, the long-run solution to this problem will be fixing our refineries and getting enough refined products here. Okay. Now, thank God Dangote refinery has come on stream, but yes, we understand too that it may not start full production, okay, until probably next year. So between now and then, what do we do? What happens? So I am of the opinion that the government can have an arrangement similar to what has happened in places like Malaysia, in places like Egypt. What did they do? Okay, they got commercial motor vehicle owners to register for smart cards, register and collect smart cards. With those smart cards, one could now purchase fuel at regulated price from NNPC filling stations or from government filling stations. So I think the smart card initiative practiced by Malaysia, introduced by Egypt in 2014, is something we can look at. Commercial vehicle owners, operators, the vehicles that are owned by maybe educational institutions, religious organizations, and places like, NTA, government institutions, can be given this preferential treatment. They're given smart cards, and they go to government-owned filling stations, NNP filling stations, and buy at these regulated prices. The other private cars, in the meantime, can continue to buy from other marketers. The good thing now is that government is saying that NNPC will no longer be the sole importer. They now want to free up the space and invite independent marketers to also import. So if they are importing fuel, and NNPC is also doing so, I am saying that of the NNPC, should be made available in the interim at regulated prices, especially for commercial vehicle purposes, because the major impact this removal of subsidy is going to have will be on the on the cost of transportation. And if you can minimize that cost of transportation one way or the other, you may find that the negative impact might not be that much. But the danger of continuing with the status quo, of not removing subsidy, or not having the plan to remove it, is what I've just told you now. It has been an avenue of corruption.
A few benefiting from the national while we look at the prospects and the challenges, and we wait on government to make the decisions to make life better for all Nigerians, can we afford a shutdown at this particular point in time with all these agitations? We can't afford a shutdown, and that's why I am advising that the government should continue to dialogue with the stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement is very necessary at this point to avert shutdown of the economy. I recall in 2011 when there was an attempt to also remove fuel subsidy. I also recall, I think it was January 1st, 2012, that the announcement was made. It was followed by social unrest, followed by strikes and all that, and then the economy was shutting down. The then government of Goodluck Jonathan didn't have a choice but to revert to the old prices. So my advice to the government at this point in time is to go by, I think, the submission of the TUC. The TUC is saying, while talks are ongoing, revert to the status quo. Revert to status quo, which in my view makes a lot of sense. You go back to status quo while the talks are ongoing. And I am also believing that these talks should be in the area of having a plan, having a program to eventually take out oil subsidy, because it's something that, except to deal with it, it is not going to allow this government to function. This government is not going to find money anywhere to function. And the recommendation I made about stopgap measure will also cost the government some money. And where will this money be coming from? In my view, it should come from the Central Bank of Nigeria. This is the time the Central Bank can afford to now use ways and means to support this measure. I'm aware ways and means can lead to inflation, but which one do we prefer? Between the devil and the deep blue sea, is it creeping inflation or galloping inflation? If you take off oil subsidy the way it has been done, it will result in galloping inflation. Yes, but if you get the central bank to support some sort of again palliative, because that's the way I see it, and then the one we are expecting from the World Bank, the 800 million we have already negotiated with the World Bank, which we have been told has not been drawn down. They can draw it and then ensure that it's channeled to areas that will also ensure that the masses don't feel the impact so much. I want to believe if these two interventions come true, it will not just be palliatives, but it will be better interventions that will cushion the effects so very soon, so that Nigerians will not get to go to what we are anticipating we will be going to. Thank you so very much, Professor Uche Waleke, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time.
Thank you, Benny.
Moving on, let's see the prices of oil and other commodities in the international market. Nigerian stocks post best return in sub-Saharan Africa for the month of May. Bosirable has an overview of the numbers for the week ended Friday, the 2nd of June 2023.
Last week, the NGX All-Share Index appreciated by 5.37% to close at 55,820.50 points. Market capitalization ended the week at a high 30.395 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 2.586 billion shares in the week, worth 46.6 billion naira in 35,122 deals. The financial services industry, measured by volume, led the activity chart with 1.8 billion shares, valued at 23 billion naira, traded in 17,806 deals. The conglomerates industry followed, while the consumer goods industry was in third place. Trading in the top three equities, Access Holdings, UBA, and FBN Holdings, measured by volume, accounted for 915.9 million shares worth 10.9 billion naira in 6,575 deals. All other indices finished the trading week higher, with the exception of NGX Growth, which depreciated by 0.18%, while the NGX ASEM and NGX Sovereign Bond indices closed flat. A summary of price changes shows that 66 equities appreciated in price, 23 equities depreciated in price, while 67 equities remained unchanged. The market had opened for only 4 trading days, as Monday was the day to commemorate the inauguration of the newly elected president of Nigeria.
That was Moplang Dakok with updates on the week ended. And back home, taking a look at the stock market today. After trading bullish last week, the equities market ended on a negative note this Monday to begin the week's trading in red. The all-share index depreciated to 55,806.71 basis points, and the market capitalization depreciated to 30.387 trillion naira. 369.7 million shares exchanged hands and worth 19.8 billion naira in 7,221 deals. And let's take a look at the global market, where Nikkei touches new 30-year highs as Asia markets rise. Oil surges on OPEC Plus cuts. Buster Rebel has that.
European markets were muted Monday after ending on a high on Friday as traders digested the U.S. debt ceiling agreement and Eurozone inflation data. Asia markets were largely higher after U.S. President Joe Biden signed into law a debt ceiling bill that allowed the U.S. to avert defaulting on its financial obligations over the weekend. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 surged 2.20% above the 32,000 mark for the first time since 1990 to close at 32,217.43. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index saw a 0.84% gain on Monday, extending its rally from the 4% gain recorded in Friday's session. Mainland China markets were more mixed, with the Shanghai Composite up marginally to end at 3,232.44. U.S. equity futures were little changed on Monday after a broad-based rally that pushed the S&P 500 to its best week since March and its highest level since August. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average was marginal. S&P 500 were flat, while Nasdaq 100 futures dipped 0.27%. Africa markets also traded in mixed territory, with Ghana and Tunisia posting gains, while Namibia and South Africa JSE Africa Top 40 closed red. Bosede Ebo, Business Express.
And that brings us to the end of Business Express for now. Do remember to keep in touch with us, to send in your questions, comments, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes, including this one, are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. I am Benny Adams saying have a wonderful day ahead.